We must say no more coal mines, no more oil exploration.
With this legislation, mining will be turbocharged.
More projects, more roads, more mines, more renewable energy, more building stuff.
We say to you today, as our tupuna said before us, he au ka te tēnei, ka tiri konei. This is a line you may not cross.
Te awarua o Porirua, once the pātaka kai for kapiti iwi Ngāti Toa.
For generations, 150, 160 years, feed the whānau, feed the manufuri, come over here, prolific. And then in the 1950s, well, 60s, that all changed.
At Porirua, 20 miles from Wellington, the long-term building plan in this area is providing for a population of 60,000.
The government of the day decided this was a perfect place to intensify housing, and so the equivalent of the fast-track development in that era took place.
Wellington is bursting at the seams, and Porirua's development will provide homes for the Smiths and the Scotts, the McHales and the Fowlers.
The sedimentation then began down into our harbour, the pollution began, and within 20 years, our beautiful food basket, the pātaka for Ngāti Toa, was turned into a polluted pond, barren and toxic.
And now more farmland in the region is set to be converted to housing. 40 minutes up the road in Paraparaumu. This is the property of one of Wellington's most high-profile development companies, aptly named the Wellington Company. And this land has been put forward for consideration for the fast track.
So how big exactly is this area?
It's about 28 hectares.
Steve McCall is in charge of the new development.
This is the last undeveloped significant land holding left in Paraparaumu. It's, as you can see, development is all around us.
Other things will sprout up down here.
But the 1,000 plus housing project is being held up. A roadblock to obtaining a consent is the wetland.
Urban development is permissible in areas where there is wetland, and regional councils choosing to ignore that. It virtually is a stopping point on the whole development until various bits and pieces of investigation are carried out on that. This is the main street.
Yeah.
So there'll be a bank up here, a medical centre here.
It's the vision of Wellington Company co-owner Ian Cassels. He has had a hand in building the capital from the ground up. From commercial buildings in the city to heritage restoration in coastal suburbs.
We started in 1990, so that's 34 years. Some of them moving quickly and some of them moving slowly. The mechanisms of bureaucracy are highly frustrating for us, because different wheels spin in different directions, and before you know it, you're compounding the times. It just goes off into some sort of time warp.
So you must have seen a lot of legislation, regulation change in that time. How does this proposed fast-track bill stack up?
Well, there have been all sorts of fast-track type things in the past. This one seems faster than the rest.
The bill is designed to speed up the time that it takes for housing developments, roads, even mines to get the first shovels in the ground. An expert panel decides what the risks are and how they can be reduced. But ultimately, 3 ministers have the final say.
The initial reaction was, over my dead body.
Would you be supportive of the bill if it wasn't that 3 ministers had the final say so?
I would say probably yes. We're all in on development. We're building houses out the wazoo here ourselves. We're keen to support the responsible provision of new roads, new pipes, new houses. It's just that it's not true that it's either or. You either have development or you have pollution, and ministers are not experts.
A whopping 27,000 people are having their say on the bill. Many are calling it undemocratic because it gives 3 ministers ultimate say-so over projects with huge environmental implications. And iwi and hapu who haven't reached their treaty settlement yet don't get a say at all.
The first thing we've seen is an overwhelming response by whānau hapu and iwi into submission processes. And that has been seen in the thousands of people who have participated in a way that I don't think we have before.
So deeply held were their concerns that almost 14,000 of our supporters submitted directly on the bill.
Tens of thousands of submissions, but thousands more are taking to the streets across the country.
The fast-track bill, firstly, it undermines democracy. Secondly, it undermines te tiriti.
That concentration of power for decision-making is unjust. You know, we have a job to caretake the whenua, and bypassing the experts and giving that power to 3 random guys, it's dangerous.
We've got companies that are wanting to mine in our pristine environment up north. But we're just going to send a clear message to them that they'll be in for a world of trouble. They're going to waste a lot of money trying to get into our region. We will stand up and resist you with everything that we've got, and we will stop you.
On the West Coast, former mines are being rehabilitated. Companies claim they can be restored to native forest.
Restoration work was an integral part of operations throughout the working life of the mine. After mining stopped, the Reefton Restoration Project began.
Can you restore land that has been used for a mine?
You can always replace some of that dirt or some of those for open cast mining, but it is like putting makeup on the tūpapaku, right? You end up destroying the mauri of those places, and you end up taking away large-scale ecosystems that may take generations to come back, if at all. That's why so many hapu have opposed mining over the years.
Stop the catastrophisation that every time you put a shovel, a machine, a digger in the ground, you're destroying the sacredness of Earth Mother. What is the point of being poor in paradise? You'll still be poor.
Environmental consultant Tina Porou has a challenge ahead.
The idea of continuing to do extractive mining like we've been recommended to do by this current government in a climate-impacted world, that's a farce.
We will not be deterred in the creation of a fast-track piece of legislation so mining, roading, infrastructure and other big developments that keep Kiwis and their kids in New Zealand can take place without being hijacked by a group that are woke-riddled climate believers and who don't accept that unless we can pay our way to
In a nutshell, what the bill says is that we want to reduce bureaucracy so consenting can be done faster. Now, that would be fine, except what they've said are the barriers are Māori and the environment. We have to be cautious and we have to protect our environment and the future for our kids.
But for Cassels, without housing, there is no future.
So the longer we take to build houses, the more misery people are suffering, the more expensive they're going to be. That's all waste. We're wasting the opportunities for New Zealanders to get better housing right across the board with huge amounts of slowness, bureaucracy and worry. We've got 10 years of misery if we don't get onto it. We've got to get onto it quickly.
Without doubt, they live in some leafy suburb somewhere, right? Or in some lovely place with sea views, right? So the idea that they might leave their home and come to our home and make a mess, that ain't going to happen. And I actually would encourage New Zealanders, don't stand for anyone anymore making a mess in your home.